Hello, and welcome to this walkthrough for Settlement Creation in Brunelleschi Age of Architects, the new web strategy game and social strategy game from Aesop Games. I'm Matt, I'm the lead designer of the game, and I'm just going to walk you through the process of creating a new settlement from scratch. So we're going to start with this pre-generated Lord character. As you can see, they are a level 1 journeyman. That's a trader lord. This is going to affect some of their options when creating a settlement. So first things first, we click the Move button. It's going to ask us if we've been invited to take a ministry. We'll just close that. We don't want to take any of these residence options or move to an existing settlement. There are no open ministries available, and even if there were, we would want to dodge around those and click the Found a New Settlement button. It's going to bring up an important warning here, and I encourage you to read through it. It just lets you know that Brunelleschi is a difficult game, and that running a settlement may not be for everyone. It does require a lot of focus and a good bit of time. You may wish to live as a resident or work as a minister before taking on the challenge. But if you're ready to go for it, just click the big green Create a Settlement button. And this will invite you to choose a region. You don't have to choose a region yet, but as this feature becomes more solidified and the game gets further into its open beta, we are going to ask players and mandate that they choose a region for their settlement. These have a variety of bonuses. There are no real downsides, but the settlements in general have an easier time conducting both war and trade with other settlements in their region. And this will basically come out to being the world map in the game, and so can have major implications for trade via land and sea, and the same can be said for combat via land and sea. But we're just going to go ahead and defer a decision on that. Now we're going to be asked to choose our culture. There are a lot of cultures here, and we're probably going to expand these as the game continues. At first, it's mostly just going to be things that you would find in Western and Central Europe, but as the game expands, we will be expanding into other continents, including the entirety of Eurasia, Africa, and eventually even the North and South American continents. If you want to defer a decision on that, or really just have a settlement that doesn't have a focused or specific culture, you can choose the cosmopolitan culture, and that's another way of kind of deferring the choice. Now here on this page, you're going to see your list of options for governments. And as a starting character, level 1, you'll have 8 government options, 4 of which are available specifically to your class, and 4 of which are available to all Lord characters: the Empire, the Hegemony, the Bureaucracy, and Anocracy. The governments here are listed as being populist, egalitarian, elitist, and autocratic. This has a real effect on the way that decisions are made in a settlement in the long run. At the moment, it's mostly a cosmetic decision, so you will be able to change this without any penalties in the days leading up to the establishment of our full political system. For right now, we're just going to go ahead and choose the standard autocratic lord class empire. If you choose another class, this is a clergy lord, whereas the previous one was a trader lord, you will have an entirely different selection of government styles, including, in this case, populism, theocracy. In general, these sort of things will make sense. And these will also be reflected in the economic options that are available. As you can see here, we have a commander lord who's offered another set of governments. As settlements change hands and are ruled over by different sovereigns and different ministers and different government types, this can be changed around. Once that full political system is in, however, there will be scenarios and consequences that result from the change of government. And again, each of these is reflected as well in the economic choices that you're able to make. This will determine a great deal of information about, it will determine how taxes are set in your settlement, if taxes are even allowed in your settlement, If public or private ownership dominates, that will sort of be determined by this economic setting. And like I say, for the moment, these are mostly cosmetic placeholders, but as the game expands, more bonuses and game effects will be implemented for each of these things. And if you'd like to see more information about any of that and any of the planned features, you can just head over to wiki.brungame.com, and all of the planned features and the game's roadmap are pretty well documented here. So, we just select a free market economy here, and then finally we'll be asked to select a settlement society. Now, in general, each of these, be they autocratic, elitist, egalitarian, or populist, will impact one of the aspects of settlement government and economy. So the government style, if it's elitist, for example, an elitist government invests all of the power in that settlement in the ministers and the sovereign. An autocratic government, on the other hand, invests all of the power in that settlement in only the sovereign, with ministers really being kind of tertiary, not really very powerful. Often in autocratic governments, the ministers aren't even able to vote. On the other hand, an egalitarian society or economy, or even government, tends to favor the hero players. These are just normal players of the game, not settlement owners or ministers of any type, just people adventuring and leveling up, playing a fairly normal RPG. But in egalitarian systems, they're encouraged to participate in the government, in the economy, in the society. And in the most dangerous setup, you can always go with a populist economy, or a populist government or society. In this setup, the artificial intelligence, such as it is of the game, will basically demand laws and tax changes and that sort of thing on behalf of the NPC citizens of your settlement. And this really brings into play the happiness mechanics of the game, and just the economic and political simulations of the game will really kick in with those populist setups. And they are, of course, the most dangerous. The government has the most to lose there, but the bonuses and the happiness provided by those forms of government are rather considerable. So it's really up to players to decide how they want to go, whether it be, autocratic or more populist. And we've tried to include every variety of government style here. Really, everything is reflected within the game in terms of what kind of options you have. And again, each of these options, half of the options are provided from the class and half of them are universal. When selecting a society type, this really determines how new government is established, how voting works in the settlement. Are things voted on? Do the peasants and yeomen and peers of the settlement have any say in things? Do the heroes have any say in things? In the case of direct democracy, for example, the government would have relatively little control. Most things, such as declarations of war, would be decided by popular vote. Representative democracy will be familiar to the majority of Western citizens these days, especially, for example, residents of the United States of America will be pretty familiar with this sort of theoretically egalitarian society. Alternately, you have the older systems like the divine right of kings. This is pretty much just the presumption that the sovereign rules because a higher power decrees that they should. And alternately, you could have things like military rule, pretty straightforward, a rule by sheer military force, or police states, all the way up to military citizenship sort of representing, service guaranteeing citizenship, people only gaining full military citizenship after serving in the army, kind of a almost Roman style, and then national service. As these things are coming from the commander classes, national service would be like a lot of European governments, or Israel, for example, with the mandate that individuals, citizens of the settlement or government or civilization, serve the government in a military or semi-military capacity. And again, each of these will be totally based on the class of the sovereign to get a really interesting mix and match of government, economic, and societal types. You would have to have more than one sovereign. Really, the game is intended to allow for the transfer of power in a variety of ways, be those espionage, revolution, military, or peaceful transfers of power through economic, religious, or democratic change. Anyway, after selecting something along the lines of guild dominance or plutocratic democracy for our society type, we're finally brought to this final screen. And on this screen we can select any of those choices. If we want to go back and choose something else, we would be able to do so here. And after naming the settlement and hitting submit, that will get a new settlement created. And at that point you will be free to construct. So I hope this has been a useful walkthrough on settlement creation. If you would like any more information, please come visit us at brunegame.com and check out the info panels. Everything in the game is documented thoroughly in the catalog, the wiki, the help files, and if there's anything there that you can't find, please feel free to visit us in the forums or talk to us directly through the live chat function, and we will be happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you at brunegame.com.